Hi, my name is Khleif, and I'm the host of the Lifetime Cash Flow Through Real Estate Investing podcast. And every week I interview multifamily rock stars, and we talk about how they've built incredible wealth for themselves and their families through multifamily properties. So hit the like and subscribe buttons to get notified every Monday when a new episode comes out. Let's get to it. Welcome back to Lifetime Cash Flow Through Real Estate Investing. I'm Khleif, and I am thrilled that you're here. And I know you're going to get tremendous value from the lady I'm interviewing today. Her name's Zeona McIntyre, and Zeona is an expert in the, I'm not going to say short-term rental, in the mid-term rental space. And I know that's not something we've really, I don't think we've ever talked about on the show. We've had an Airbnb guy on once or twice, but never mid-term rentals. So excited to get into this. Zeona, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, let's have some fun today. So why don't you give us a little background, where you came from, why you're doing what you do, and maybe bring us current.
Yeah. So, it's not that different from Airbnb because that's where I got started, right? So back in 2012, I started with arbitrage with short-term rentals. So I had a room come available. I had a roommate and it was fully furnished with my own stuff. And I had heard about this Airbnb thing. And so I thought, well, let me just try it. If it doesn't work, I'll just get another roommate, right? But it worked out so well that I rented out her room and then I was renting out my room and just doing anything I could to be out of the house until I got more properties and finally could afford to buy. But the midterm game came in for me around COVID times. And for people that are in the short-term rental space, in COVID, Airbnb allowed everyone to cancel. And so there was this mass exodus on our calendars where everything got canceled within just a few days. And it was months and months of cancellations. So we had to pivot. And for me, I saw that this could be an opportunity to have longer stays, people that needed more space, people that were coming in for relief work, and pivoted in that space. And I haven't really looked back since. So
wow,
it's a great
space.
Now
you mentioned the term arbitrage, and yeah. I honestly, full disclosure, I hadn't heard that till a couple of years ago. Now I know what it is, but could you please describe it for my listeners who haven't heard it?
Yeah, so arbitrage is essentially subletting, right? It's renting something and then re-renting it out at a higher rate. And so a lot of people have gotten into that space with Airbnb. It's not my favorite because I love equity, right? As real estate investors, we make money in appreciation and equity over time, and you don't own the property, so you don't get that.
Right.
Yeah.
So midterm is like 30 days or longer, or what does midterm mean specifically?
Yes, hence the book title, 30-day stay. So anything
that's
over
right.
30 days. No, that works.
Oh, but yeah, sorry, I forgot to mention that. She has a book called 30-Day Stay that went out through BiggerPockets, which is a big deal because they don't approve just anybody. So that must be an awesome book. So
yeah.
so 30 days or longer. Okay, yeah, hello, I knew that.
No, you're totally fine.
Yeah. So yeah. Well, please continue.
Sure. Yeah. So a short-term rental is anything under 30 days, and they often are, 4 nights. And a midterm rental is anything over 30 days, also furnished, but our average stay is about 90 days. And the reason for that is that we get a lot of travel nurses, and they have 3-month contracts, and they often extend out to 6. So it's just a lot easier to do a midterm rental because you have less turnover, less expenses, less tenants to deal with.
So you're looking for assets near a hospital or near a medical facility of some sort. Is that an accurate statement? Is that like your niche? Is that demographic?
That can be, and it's not, it depends on our properties, because I'm invested in 5 states. And so some areas end up attracting more digital nomads or business travelers, other areas, more nurses. But yes, for the Midwest, that's a really good place. So it just depends on who do these people want to serve, and then where do they buy their properties based on that.
Are your assets all single family homes, or do you have any multifamily at all yet?
Yeah, so I've kind of done a mix of everything. I've done a lot of condos actually in the midterm rental space, and a lot of investors don't like condos, but actually in this space, they're really easy to manage because
sure, you don't have a yard. Yeah. Right.
Yeah, the HOA handles a lot of things. You don't have to worry about trash, which is a nemesis for short-term rentals, and we don't have to do that. So condos work well. Multifamilies are great. If you have small units, that works really well for nurses, like 1 to 2 bedrooms. But there's another side of this midterm rental space that can be even more profitable, and that is displaced tenants. So people that have insurance loss claims. So maybe they had a fire or burst pipes or something in their property, and the insurance company pays you directly. So you can make a lot more money, but those clients want to be in a single family home. So it's a little bit different depending on who you want to serve.
Well, that is a painful example, because I just had a fire a week ago Saturday, burned down a building with 20 units in an asset we have in Nashville. Thank God nobody died. Only injury was a woman that jumped out of the third floor window and fractured her knee, but she'll be all right. But good Lord. Yeah. So anyway, I was just in Nashville Monday, checking it out, and just blown away that nobody died or was seriously injured, because it was crazy how the devastation. But anyway, yeah, sorry, I couldn't let that go by without mentioning.
All those tenants can be placed by the insurance company, and it probably will be a long time, right? So oh yeah, no, it'll be a year to rebuild it. And we were able to. There were 13. We were actually in the middle of our CapEx project. So we had a lot of empty units that had been renovated, 5 or 6 or 5 or 7 or whatever it was, and that building had been renovated. But out of the 13 that got displaced, we'd already placed 9 or 10 of them back in other units that we had, thank God. But yeah, I could see how that could be a real boon if you've got a home and you've got somebody in that situation. They can, the insurance company will pay if they've got insurance. They've got to have insurance, obviously, but if they've got insurance, it'll take care of it. So let me ask you this. So describe some of the markets that you're in and why. Yeah, so I'm kind of all over the place, and I wouldn't do this again. I think when I was starting in short-term rentals, I was sort of chasing the latest, hottest market, which if anybody subscribes to RdK&x or different sites that have statistics like that, data analysis, they are constantly putting out, here's the quarter's best places to invest, right? So over time, you hear about all these places and you go, oh man, maybe if I'm just over there, I'm going to do a little bit better. So I did a lot of that hopping around. And I think now I just kind of want to go deep in one market. And the value of that is that when someone calls you, like an insurance adjuster, you can say, yes, I'll place them. I've got places, right? So you're much more valuable with 5 places than you are with 1 in that market.
Oh, that makes good sense. And you've got, then you've got economies of scale as well, right? I mean, if you've got something that needs to be taken care of, you could, you got enough, you could probably hire a full-time maintenance person if necessary. But I mean, there's economies of scale that come into play, yes?
Absolutely. Yeah. I think, my favorite markets are the ones that I live close by. That's just always super convenient, but I live in Colorado and my market is very expensive. So it is hard to cash flow, even with midterm rental, which gets you more cash flow than normal. But I find that it works the best in the Midwest. So my latest venture was in Atlanta. And the reason for that market is not only are there good hospitals, universities, I was close to the airport with that one, but they also have a film industry that is booming. It's the second largest outside of Hollywood, and film people often are in town for 3 months doing a project. So they need these shorter stays. Yeah.
So you're in Denver? Is that where you're at?
I'm in Boulder. Yeah.
Boulder. Oh boy, we made fun of people in Boulder. I lived in Denver for 30 years. We used to call you guys granola bars up there. But
absolutely, I am a full granola bar.
Yeah, okay. I couldn't resist. Sorry, but that's my old. I went to high school in Denver, and I had 500 houses in Denver at one time, which I wish I freaking had now. But we won't go down that rabbit hole. But anyway, so you like, you like Atlanta. That makes good sense. Now, is there a type of? I mean, obviously this is a multifamily podcast. So let's speak to people that have some multifamily assets or thinking they may want to try this in the multifamily space. What suggestions would you make that they look for in unit size, in location, in maybe transportation, whatever? What's relevant as it relates to this demographic that you're leasing to?
Yeah, so multifamily works really well with small units. So 1 to 2 bedrooms are the best. And you're going to be targeting more of those nurse or digital nomad clients. And so what I find with the multifamily people is that they love to have a few that are still long-term rentals. So you're getting that monthly consistent income and you know it's coming in, but then you can add so much more. I mean, sometimes people do twice their market rate for a midterm stay. And so that brings in so much more cash flow because sometimes the numbers are tight and people want to make a little bit more. So it can be nice to test it out with a few of your units and then see if you want to transition your whole building.
What does it cost to get a 1-bedroom unit ready with the furniture and everything? Just rough shoot from the hip kind of a thing.
Yeah, so a 1-bedroom, I'd say probably around 7,000, and that's just if you're doing it yourself. And then if you're doing 2 bedrooms, maybe you're a little closer to 9, something like that.
So 7 to 9K, and then I mean, it's VRBO, it's Airbnb. What you market it everywhere. I assume you just put it out there everywhere. Yes.
Yeah, so there's also a website called Furnished Finder, and they were born out of the traveling medical professionals. And now they've actually, I was at a conference just last week where the CEO was there and he was saying, it's funny, but 50% of our travelers are no longer medical professionals. There's a lot of people hearing about their site. And so they get a lot of relocations, which can be great. And then, students and different digital nomads, just the whole digital nomad trend has really come up since COVID. So before COVID, yeah.
I'm sorry. I guess I just want to be clear. I'm thinking when I'm visualizing a digital nomad, it's somebody that's online, they've started a Shopify thing, or they're some sort of a thought leader or influencer or whatever, or just don't work in an office any longer and they just want to like my daughter would love to live in Japan and do what she does, but I don't understand how that translates to short-term or midterm rental versus, these people just don't like to be any place more than 3 or 4 months. Is that it? Is that the dynamic? Or please explain.
Yeah. So what I was saying is that before COVID, only 7% of the US workforce was able to work from anywhere. After COVID, it was more than 42%. And so even if some of those people are getting called back into the office, it's not all of them. And so at the beginning of COVID, I was seeing this trend where people were saying, okay, I'm going to be in Denver for a month, and then I'm going to Austin. And after that, I've got New Orleans and then Maui. Right. So they're just kind of hopping around for a month at a time. Now I see people doing it a little more slowly. Sometimes they're 3 months in a place. But I think this is also a trend that is very of the new generation, right? Gen Z, they're really wanting to experience the world and they don't feel like they have to be in one place. They don't necessarily need to own a home. So they're ready to just kind of travel the world and work from anywhere. So it's just a little bit of a new way.
So if you were to put them into an age category, you said Gen X or Gen Z, whatever, what is the age range for those digital nomads?
Yeah, well, man, I see it all over the place, but I would say that Gen Z is probably under 30 right now. Yeah. Okay. So probably somewhere in there between like 15 and 30. But that is just their trend. But I'm seeing people that, come up from Texas to Colorado because their summers are really hot, right? There's just a lot of different, preferences.
Interesting. Yeah. So maybe just pop up for 3 months and stay in a furnished house. And now, in the midterm rental space, are they taking care of their own laundry and stuff, or do you have different? I'm getting a little micro with you, but who keeps the place clean? Are they responsible to return it in the same condition? Are you cleaning it during their stay, or is it just before they come in and after they leave?
Yeah, I just do those end marks because I don't really want to deal with paying for someone to be in there. But what I do is I have an auto message that goes out day 7 when the place is probably starting to look a little messy, that says, here's my cleaner's information just in case you want to hire her. And she's at this rate. And I've known that a lot of people have hired her. So I think that's a win-win for her, but then I don't actually have to pay it out of the rental income.
Okay. So I know you travel about half the year. Your bio says you've been to 47 countries. Holy cow. How are you able to manage your midterm rental business remotely? I mean, what does that look like? You can just describe what's involved. I mean, obviously you've got to probably be there to set it all up and position everything and have it set to go and have the locks that are digital and all that business. But once you're up and running, what does that look like?
Yeah, so many of our tenants come from out of town, so they're not necessarily needing a tour of the property. So everything happens virtually. We communicate virtually. We sign our leases just with an e-signature. We kind of deal with everything either over the phone or email, and it's just pretty easy. So there's coordination of the cleaner, but they're on the ground. And if I have a handyman that I need to do something, fix it type, we'll call them. But otherwise, I don't need to be there. Actually, right now, I'm in Sayulita, Mexico on a surf trip for a month. So, wow. Yeah, we're just kind of on the move. So we're doing the thing that I'm making money off of, right? We're in somebody else's furnished home right now.
No kidding. Wow. Very cool. Very cool. So I know you've got your book, 30-Day Stay, which I guess goes into some detail as to what this business entails. And I assume it's kind of like a step-by-step kind of a thing. Is that accurate?
Yeah, we wanted to do an A to Z. So I wrote it with someone else, Sarah Weaver, and we're both female investors. So we have a lot of case studies from our own experience, but also a lot of other female investors in it. And so we try to make it story heavy, so it's a little more interesting than dry. But we really wanted someone to be able to pick up the book, never knowing in real estate investment, and be able to buy something by the end of it. So it is really thorough. Okay. And is there a particular type of person that you've seen in your experience working in this particular niche of real estate that does better than another? Is there a personality that does better? And forgive me, maybe it's a naive question, but I'm just curious, because like in the multifamily space, there are different personalities. There's lots of different hats a person can wear. I'm just curious if there's a type that does better in this space. Yeah, I mean, it's still hospitality, but less so than short-term rentals. I think short-term rentals have really turned into boutique hotels, the amount that is required of you. And so these tenants are a lot more self-sufficient. So that's nice. But you are still providing a home that needs to be beautifully decorated and professionally photographed. And so someone who has an eye for design, I actually find that a lot of like stay-at-home moms love this type of work. Wow. I don't necessarily think that you need to do it. If you've got a bunch of long-term rentals and you're living off that income, don't go and furnish a property and make a bunch of work for yourself. But if you're new and scrappy and you're wanting to make way more money on your return on investment, then yeah, get into it, because there is more there for you.
Here's a question. I've heard, like here in Sarasota, Florida, you can't do short term. I mean, the regs don't allow it. The hotel lobby here is very strong. Does that impact midterm rentals? Because I think the timeline here is it's got to be 30 days or longer. So, I mean, I think midterm would work here. I'm not sure on this. I'm just this secondhand in my head, but can you speak to the regulatory environment a little bit?
Well, so that's the beauty of it, is that anything over 30 days is generally lumped into a long-term rental space. And so as more and more places are regulating short-term rentals, we're in this gray area that people don't realize, right? So that is where it's been really born from. But Florida is a little bit different. So Florida sees anything under 6 months as a short-term rental, and they tax you accordingly for that. Now, Sarasota might let you do it after 30 days, but they're still going to give you a little bit of a tax. And most other states don't do that. So
I see.
Thank you,
Interesting.
Florida.
Interesting. Oh, that's unusual. Typically, it's the blue states that are taxing the hell out of you, but we won't go down that rabbit hole. Anyway, so what are some of the hurdles that you encounter in this business, and maybe some of the lessons that you've had, so I call them seminars, and some are more expensive than other seminars, but we don't call them failures. So only a failure if you don't get back up or don't get the lesson. So talk about some of the times you got your nose bloodied or some things you've encountered in this very unique business.
Yeah, well, my most recent one was we had a burglary at one of my places. And of course, this doesn't happen with a long-term rental, unless maybe you're renovating, maybe it does happen. But they have furniture in it. So people wanted to steal our furniture, which sounds unlikely, but it happened. So I have now learned to put cameras up in my property. So that was a fun
Oh,
lesson.
wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard that's very common in the short-term rental space. They'll throw a Nest camera out the front and if there's somebody's having a blowout party, they're able to see and deal with it, or if something happens. So I think that's probably a good move anyway, regardless. We put cameras in all our assets. Anything else come to mind?
Yeah. I think the thing most people struggle with is furnishing, right? That's the hurdle that if you're in a long-term rental space, that you just don't know how to do that. I think people fail in the fact that they say, well, let me just get everything from a garage sale and I'll just put it together, or some random furniture I have sitting in my, garage or, a storage unit. That's not really going to work today. It might have worked 5 years ago, but now it's just so competitive in the Airbnb space in general that you need to have really beautiful, cohesive, professionally designed spaces. So you definitely want to make that investment up front, but it doesn't have to be terribly expensive.
Do you do, I've seen themes, of course you see some really, really cool like treehouse stuff and stuff like that, but do you do any theme type stuff in any of your assets?
We do a little bit. I'd say like it's more cohesive with the theme. Like we're not doing crazy game rooms or huge murals or things like that, but we have a place in Colorado Springs. And so we kind of leaned into more of a cowboy modern theme, and it's really tasteful and beautiful rather than hokey. But yeah, you do kind of see it runs the gamut online. You can see all kinds of weird stuff for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I normally have a whole repertoire of questions to ask, and they're typically very often mindset related. I mean, lifestyle related. And I think you're the epitome of a lifestyle component. I mean, you're traveling all over the freaking world. You're in Mexico right now and living life, living large rather. And, so, I mean, did you know this was going to provide that, or just kind of happened?
Gosh, when I started in 2012, I definitely didn't know that. I think I always had this idea that, oh, I wish I was like a programmer or something. I wish I was really tech savvy and I could work from anywhere, because that's what it required back then. But then Airbnb came into my life while I was holding this vision of, man, I would love to be able to travel and do my work from anywhere. And so at the same time, it just kind of happened. And one day I was standing in my kitchen and I realized, wow, I am already doing that thing that will let me accept reservations from the beach and be anywhere in the world. So yeah, even though I'm not that tech savvy, I'm here and I'm doing it. So it's allowed for us. Yeah.
Did you have any mentors on this, or did you just kind of just learn it all yourself?
Yeah, back then it was really early days. There weren't books on it. There weren't like Instagram and TikTok back then. So I had to fumble around and learn a lot the hard way. But now in the space, there's so many other people doing it. And so it's really fun when I go to conferences or other people I've met online. We now use each other as resources, and it's a really supportive community. I think it's great.
Yeah, I remember I was on Clubhouse, I think it was, and there's some guys there that were talking about this, and it seemed like everybody knew each other. So, well, listen, guys, get her book if you're interested in this. It's 30-day stay. Is that on Amazon, or do they have to do that through BiggerPockets?
Sure is. I mean, BiggerPockets is the best. Do whatever you like.
Of course. It's funny, when I started my podcast, they were always ahead of me on the rankings in real estate. I was always second behind BiggerPockets, but anyway, I can still say I'm which is the truth. I had the largest commercial real estate, and they were primarily single family. But I know all those guys really well. So, well, listen, I appreciate you coming on, Zeona. This is different than what we usually have, but I think it's definitely valuable. So I appreciate you coming on and sharing your knowledge.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, take care. So one other quick thing. We encounter so many people that are frankly frustrated. They're looking in the mirror and they're frustrated that they haven't been able to escape the rat race. They haven't been able to build cash flow to the point where they're able to have financial and time freedom with their families. And maybe they see other people buying real estate and creating, incredible cash flow, and they think, well, it's just scary. Buying apartments is intimidating. And I get it. But see, that's why we created our Warrior Mentorship Program. They're our coaching students, and they've had extraordinary results. My students, I've been teaching about 5 years, and own upwards of 140,000 units now that we know of, right? And we feel like it's just getting going. Now we're looking to grow this group and really take it to the next level. And honestly believe that the greatest transfer of wealth could be upon us right now with this current economic environment. Everything's going on sale. So we're looking for people who want to follow a proven framework, really like a blueprint or a map, literally step by step. And then they're able to leverage our systems and our incredible network to raise money and equity, to find deals and close those deals and build partnerships, really nationwide. So if you're interested in finding out more about how you can become more in our incredible network and take advantage of the unbelievable opportunities that are upon us, you can apply to my Warrior Mentorship Program by texting the word CRUSH to 72345, or you can go to mentorwithrod.com. And what we'll do is we'll set up a call so you can check us out and we can check you out and see if it's a fit. Now again, you can go to mentorwithrod.com or text the word CRUSH to 72345 to apply, and we will speak soon.